And this one is a competitive game about growing mushrooms, spoiling them to spread them across the board, and then decaying them to gain their victory points as well as their unique special bonuses. And something that's really cool about this game is that the designer not only designed the game, but he also did all the graphic design and the artwork as well. So I'm super impressed and jealous of your skill because you did a fantastic job. The way that the game plays is that you're going to be setting up the main board at the start of the game by drawing some random tiles and then issuing them out in a particular shape. Each player is then going to be taking turns issuing their mother mushroom token out to an area out on the main board, and these are the only mushroom tokens that will remain in play on the board for the entirety of the game. Players are also going to start with their own player board with 5 different mushroom tokens, as well as a hand of mushroom cards that will have different requirements in order to initially grow that mushroom, as well as different stats indicating how far they can spore, and a special ability which I will come back to in a moment. Players are going to be taking turns performing just 2 actions on their turn, and there's a bunch of different actions you can choose from. The first one is to move your mother mushroom up to 2 spaces, and anytime you do this, you can actually move into spaces with other mushrooms, and this is the only token that's able to do this. And when it does that, you'll actually be putting your token on top of any mushroom that's located in that space. Unless it's a mother mushroom, then you're not able to move into that space, and that is the only limitation. But moving your mother mushroom token on top of another player's grown mushroom is a good thing because you want to try and create networks of mushrooms in this game. And whenever you're moving your mother mushroom token on top of another player's regular mushroom, you are taking that location as your own, which will essentially interrupt their network. How do you actually get those other mushrooms out onto the board? Well, there's an action for that as well, which is the grow action. And in order to do that, you're going to be looking at the cards that you have in your hand and trying to gather the appropriate spore tokens of the right color in order to grow that mushroom. In order to do that, those colors need to be on the locations that are a part of your mushroom network. And if they are, and you do perform that grow action, you'll be taking that associated card and putting it out on your own personal player board, choosing one of the empty spots in your 5 locations, and then taking the associated mushroom token and putting it out on the board, but it needs to be placed in one of the locations where you claimed a spore token. But if you are in need of more spore tokens out on the board, there is a spore action that you can perform, and each mushroom is going to generate a different amount of spores depending on which one you choose to activate when you do perform this action. And then you'll be placing those spore tokens out on the board, starting where your mushroom is located, but then you'll be rolling this die which indicates the wind, with each icon matching one of the edges of the tile. And then you have to place your next cube in the tile in that direction, but then if you have more cubes to place after that, you can just choose any tile that is adjacent to that one. Something that's really cool about sporing your mushrooms is that every time you perform that action with a particular mushroom, you're going to be moving this token up the spore track. And once you've spored your mushroom twice, that mushroom is now ready to decay, which is an action that you can now perform in order to take that card from your board, slide it behind in order to unlock its special ability, and then return the mushroom token from the board onto your own personal player board, opening up that location again, allowing you to grow new mushrooms there in the future. But if you don't have any mushroom cards left, or if you want more options at your disposal, you can also use an action to draw a new mushroom card from the mushroom deck or display. And then there's also the explore action, which allows you to place a new tile onto the board, connecting it to any location that you like. Some of these tiles might also have a bug icon located on them, which means that you're going to be loading that tile with a bug token when you go and add it to the board. And players will be able to gain these tokens if they're able to get one of their mushrooms onto that tile. And having these tokens does grant you some additional options because you'll be able to spend them to perform some bonus actions. The game continues like this with players taking their 2 actions on their turn, growing their mushrooms, and then decaying them until a single player has decayed all of their mushrooms at least once, and then that triggers the final round of the game. Players are going to be adding up their victory points based on how they performed, and the player with the most victory points at the end wins the game. And if you're interested to learn more about this one and check it out, as always, I do have a link to the campaign in the description below.